colleagues, cohorts, and all the like. My name is Brainsmasher. Let's get into it right away. I used to work next door to a Barnes and Noble booksellers, and they had a music department clear at the back of their store. And when I got off of work, I used to go over there just for the fuck of it, and they had this little set of headphones you could put on, and you could listen to shit tons of music in their catalog that you could order on CD. This was probably 15 years ago or so. So it wasn't all that insane of like a technology, but it was just kind of a cool way to get off a day's work, grab a Starbucks, sit down in a chair, and just listen to anything, you know? It was an interesting way to just kind of take a deep dive away from my usual ways of finding new music. So one day I just decided to type in Necro and see what came up. There was Necro the rapper, who I kind of listened to for a minute. There was Necrophobic and Necrophagist and Necronomicon, which is what we're listening to. I didn't know what Necronomicon was, so I clicked on it and I listened to it, and I bought it immediately. This shit is fucking bonkers, and it holds up. I'm really surprised that this didn't take off, but it didn't take off, I think, because it doesn't fit into any category. It's just annoying and obnoxious in the way that like Melt Banana kind of is, but it's also kind of spastic and energetic and hyper fueled, flying off the rails like Lightning Bolt kind of is. It's just a really fun thing to listen to, and I don't think they ever did anything else. There's not really much information about this band on the web, but this came out on Load Records. I think you can get this on Discogs for $1 or $2 or something. So if you're up for getting something kind of weird, yeah, it's fun. I'm kind of pissed that like more people don't know about Necronomicon. So we're back into the vault. We are in the F section, as in farts. So yeah, let's get into it. I got about 10 or 15 musical whatevers. I don't know. I'm not super stoked about this stack, but that's just the way it goes alphabetically. Got some double dips, some stuff that I've covered recently in other videos. So, and it's past my bedtime. I'm trying to make a party of it tonight, but whatever. Okay, first off, this is going to be impossible to see, but this is fauna. And you can see this deer or buffalo skull. But Fauna, I believe, just played a show last night in Portland, and they are a Cascadian black metal project. Sorry about the jiggly wigglies there. And I don't really know where they're from, but I really was wishing that I had a copy of their album Avifauna, AVI Fauna. And it's really hard to come by, and it's really expensive, so I missed out back when it came out. This is some really cool packaging, even though it's really hard to see on this setup probably. But yeah, they're Cascadian kind of post black metal kind of stuff, but I guess what they're bringing to the table a little bit more than others is that it's really ritualistic and repetitive and just hypnotic in a way. It just sucks you in. If you're into it, it sucks you in very effectively. It's really gripping and interesting and hypnotic, but like if that kind of stuff doesn't work on you, Fauna is not for you. But this stuff, I think, is pretty great. I think there's a lot of that kind of stuff out there that I don't really go for that much. It all kind of sprouted up around the time that like Skagos and Falls of Rauros came about in Panopticon, but they all kind of went in different directions. But I do feel like Fauna are of an ilk that really tried to stay with that kind of more ritualistic, candlelit and kind of incense sort of stuff. But Fauna really is the only one that did it for me. But Abbey Fauna is the one that I would really like to have. This one is called The Hunt. Kind of out of order here, but I would maybe say that this is the very first metal band that I ever got into. So, as it happens, I was working at a grocery store at age 16, and I had this co-worker, long hair, and I was always just kind of like curious, like what is he into? Because at that time, I was listening to stuff like Stone Temple Pilots, Pearl Jam, Nirvana, whatever I could get my hands on to. I grew up poor, so I didn't buy records. I was raised on the radio, and the radio is really all I listened to until I finally got a job at a grocery store, and that plugged in with getting into metal at the same time, and I was a collector of metal and a metalhead ever since then. So this dude and I wound up like accidentally hanging out one night, and he just put on Fear Factory, and I don't know what it was. Like I remember specifically listening to like Seattle grunge rock and that kind of shit, and I would just turn it up as loud as I could, louder than I wanted it to, just because I wanted it to hurt more. I wanted it to feel more angry and aggressive, and I don't know, I didn't know what else to do. So I'd gotten to a point right then when I wasn't satisfied any longer with that kind of music, and I didn't really know what to do about it. So thankfully, metal answered the call. Anyways, so my buddy put on a Fear Factory album. It was probably Demanufacture at that time, because that one had just come out, and that album does not hold up. For one, I think I listened to it a couple of years ago just to check in on it, and it was embarrassing, and I don't have it anymore, so I must have gotten rid of it, or it could be unalphabetized somewhere in the library, but that's okay, because I honestly remember thinking, this is not as good as I thought it was when I was 17 years old. What is, though? Anyways, I don't know. In the moment, I remember Demanufacture just blowing my goddamn mind. It was so aggressive and huge sounding, and just chunky stuff like that was just so new and so satisfying to me. So like that will date me, and a lot of you guys that are older than me probably have moments like that with bands like Metallica and Slayer and Kiss or whatever. But for me, the radio shit was fine, but it didn't quite hold up to the aggression that Fear Factory had, and I still to this day I respect them quite a bit for what they were doing early on. They took that death metal template, kind of a post-thrash sort of era, but they wanted to take a futuristic kind of spin on it and make it sound 90s. So this is Concrete, and this is kind of a Roadrunner kind of reissuing their demo tapes or whatnot. I don't know if they ever actually had like a physical format thing that was for sale or whatnot, but this is pre-Soul of a New Machine, which was their debut, and fucking rules. I say that, but I don't listen to Soul of a New Machine but maybe once every 5 years or something. But this has got most of the same songs, really nothing here, just liner notes, that are on Soul of a New Machine. So if you're not really interested in, you know, the same songs but like a dirtier production and kind of some B-sides and some different takes, then this is pretty much pointless. But I think it's pretty cool. It's got a lot less keyboards, a lot less of the industrial kind of stuff, no samples of course, but Soul of a New Machine I think holds up. There are some moments on here of just absolute thundering fucking rage that I think hold up to other metal bands of their time. But you know, Fear Factory were just doing their own thing, and it's kind of hard to compare them to their other bands of the day like Obituary and Sepultura and shit like that, which Sepultura was another band at that time that just blew my fucking mind. So, you know, when I grabbed my first mouthful of metal and got my teeth on the bone, it was fucking Carcass, At the Gates, Fear Factory, Sepultura, and the rest is history. So, moving forward, Fear of God. So I talked about this when I got it last summer, and this is Toxic Voodoo. So Fear of God had 2 albums in 94 and 90, no, sorry, this is 94. 92 and 94. The 92 album I don't have, and I need to get it, and I need to get rid of this. Dawn Crosby, vocalist of this band, kind of famously passed away. She was also in Détente, which is an awesome band, from alcohol abuse, Too Many Bud Lights. But their first album, the name is escaping me right now because this thing is rolling and you're seeing me forget stuff, so it's funny. But Toxic Voodoo is the album that they recorded after the whole band was fired. She hired a new band and recorded this thing. It's not that bad. It just doesn't hold a candle to the debut whatsoever. She just doesn't really have enough of the magic that she had as a vocalist. It's just kind of half-assed and not very great of an album, so we won't spend too much time on that anyways. Next we've got Festraday. So I originally bought this thinking, it's not going to be that great, but you know, I was kind of getting into these death metal compendium compilations, you know, these posthumous releases, and I thought, well, these guys are pre-And Oceans, and And Oceans was a band that I had just gotten all of their albums of 2 or 3 years ago or so when I really started doing the YouTube videos and like filling in the holes in my collection. So I just saw that Smart Records had put out this compilation of all their demos, and I was like, yeah, that's worth getting for like $6 or $8. And I didn't know what I was in for, honestly. This is so much better than I expected it to be. And I covered it when I got it in maybe 2 years ago in that video, but I will not waste any time. I would love to tell you about this again. I actually just bought a copy of this for Marty Worm because it's so fucking good. But okay, disc 2 is just the old demos, some rehearsals from 90, 91. They're great, grinding, fucking crusty, finished death metal. But the big deal here is disc 1 is an album that they had written and shelved and never released back in 92, maybe 91 or so. I'd have to read to make sure. But it had been completely unrecorded and no one had heard it until they re-recorded it a couple of years ago. So, or, you know, that could go either way. They recorded it super faithfully. It is brutal as shit, and I don't know, it sounds fucking monstrous and great. There's moments that hold up to like Carcass's necroticism, I swear. Riff-wise, it's quality stuff. And it doesn't just have this super shiny, perfect kind of death metal production like a lot of stuff does these days. It sounds fucking barbaric and nasty and really, really good. So this is called The 4 Stages of Decomposition. I don't know if that disc 1 full length has a proper name or if that's the name of the whole thing. Yeah, they're like both discs are called the same thing, so I don't really know what to call disc 1 to differentiate it from the rest of it other than just disc 1, but it is great. I've said it a couple times, but Smart Records often has stuff on sale, super good discount. I think when I bought this copy of this for Marty a couple weeks ago, I want to say I paid $1.60 or so for it, and it was shrink wrapped, double disc, perfect condition, straight from the label. So, you know, I loaded up my cart with like 4 or 5 releases, and it wound up totaling up to like $11 or something. And then I paid $8 shipping on it to get it over here from Finland. So $20, and I got 4 discs from Smart Records overseas. So don't be so quick to not order from a label overseas if they are having a killer sale. It might wind up equaling out in the end. And pick yourself up Fester Day. Good stuff. Those guys are still active, by the way. They kept on, I think they put out another full length, and I haven't checked it out yet. I'm just really stuck on that one. It's super good. So next we've got Fetid Zombie. I never know if that focuses or not, but I try. This is a little Digisleeve EP release from Mark Riddick. He's the one that does all the art on all the stuff, and I don't know, this stuff wasn't as good as I expected it to be when I ordered it, but I don't know, it's worth a revisit, I suppose. One of the things that kind of bugs me about some bands these days is when they use like Superior Drummer or Easy Drummer software. That can be done tastefully if it's a style of music that kind of facilitates that more dumbed down kind of non-human style of playing drums. But if you don't put a lot of nuance and personality into the programming of those drums, I think it kind of winds up sounding kind of bad. And I kind of tune out if I tend to tell that the drums like didn't have any attention to detail put into them or any like artistic ideals going on. So this Fetid Zombie just kind of seemed kind of phoned in to me. I don't know if the rest of his stuff is better or whatnot, and it might have also just been the mood I was in at the time, but you know, it wasn't something to write home about at the time. This next one is from a band called Fintroll, F-I-M-B-U-L. And this is a reissue of a Norwegian black metal project, and the demo Vinterland was originally released, I want to say somewhere around 93, 94 or so. Really falls in with stuff like Over at the time, kind of like Kvist, other stuff like that. I don't think it says anywhere on here when this demo was originally released, but funny enough. But there's two demos on here. They're really good. They really have that kind of acoustic, sort of mountainy, Norse kind of feel to them. Here we go, 95. Those vocals are nuts. This record is just completely flying off the rails at all times. So funny. So 95, probably 94, 95, maybe 95, 96 or so, somewhere around there, but it's pretty good. It's called Romnens Ferd. Obviously, I'll put a link down below so you can listen to this. When I did my third wave, second rate Norwegian black metal bands, I covered this in my first video, which I linked to Matthias the other night. Let's see here. Getting on with some Finn, Chicago's Finn. They did 2 albums and were done. I didn't realize that this is on a label that can completely fuck off the whole barbarity. The Furrows of Tradition, and then we have Arrows of a Dying Age out on Folter Records. So it's a 2-piece. It's super, super, super speedy, blasty kind of stuff with shrieky vocals and kind of melodic sort of riffing. It's kind of original, but it kind of has it's kind of a quick burn kind of thing, as I call it. It's not a whole lot to write home about. Man, I feel like I'm just poo-pooing every single thing in this pile. This video might seem a little going through the motions more than a spirited music review that you usually get from my dumbass, but I'm sorry. Let's face it, you all tune in for me, not the records, right? Right? This is an album that I am really, really, really a fan of, and they're called Finner's Cane. The album is called Wanderlust. Came out on Frost Skull Productions in 2010, and this is an instrumental album. I want to say, I can't remember if these guys have 3 or 2 albums, but it doesn't have anything to do with this one. There's no vocals on this, and that is a tasteful decision, or workaround, if you want to call it that, but this is some highly emotive, just super deep music. There's lots of just beautiful, lush, clean guitars and drawn out harmonies going on. It's kind of somewhere in the vein of like Mournful Congregation, but maybe a little bit more raw and black metal, but there's nothing fast or aggressive really about it. It kind of uses that ebb and flow, that emotional kind of wax and wane kind of style that a lot of these kind of bands do. It's absolutely gorgeous music. I really wish they had kind of stayed in this direction. They wound up getting signed to Prophecy Productions, and I think they added vocals to the mix, and I wasn't really feeling the album that came out after this one, but Wanderlust is super, super good. I mean, it's an album that sounds just like the album cover, just wandering around in the fucking snow up at the side of a mountain. It's getting to be summer again, and I'm really missing snow. So next, we've got a demo from Feldgrau. This is just a real shoddy piece together CDR. But I used to be friends with Leah, who was, for a short period of time, married to Pete Helmkamp before he moved out to California and formed Carosphorus. Before that, I think Angel Corpse had broken up for the first time, and Pete, I don't know if Pete had joined Revenge at this point or not, but so he had started hanging out with Leah. They started making music together. She kind of came from a more like industrial kind of, maybe leatherish kind of Sado club scene kind of stuff, and she was more of a noise artist from what I understand. So those two are on this record, as well as Bill Taylor from Immolation. This is the demo that got them signed to Agonia Records. And style-wise, this kind of reminds me of what should have come between Drawing Down the Moon by Beharit and those techno, electronic, doom synthesis albums that they put out after that. That was such a weird jump to go from that to that. And this really kind of fills that gap. And I say that because there's some electronic element to it. The percussion is definitely like pulsing, kind of industrial, martial kind of stuff. But there's a musical basis to it. It's got metal riffs to it. They're slow, they're real fucking dirty and grimy and just nasty. It's interesting. It's definitely a demo though. They kind of could have tightened things up, I guess. I never really followed through and checked out the full length that they did. But not soon after, I don't know what happened, they had a falling out or whatever and got divorced. Pete moved to California and the rest is history. So next I've got, I think, the debut album from Fintroll, Midnatten's Vidunder. Obviously I'm a huge fan since I can't pronounce it and don't remember what it's called. I put this in a few minutes ago before I shot this video just to kind of refresh my memory because Fintroll's not really my thing. And as far as I've heard, this is probably the release of theirs that I'm most likely to be into. It kind of takes off, I think, where maybe Anthems to the Welkin at Dusk by Emperor kind of started. Taking that symphonic, super orchestral kind of style, but done with a keyboard. But adding some really, for its time, original ideas and doing some Oompa Loompa kind of stuff that just made them really famous and gave them the name that they became known for many, many years. I remember, like, I was the only one into, I don't know, Scandinavian black metal back in my town. Back in, 99, 2000, 01. God, actually, it wasn't that long ago. This came out in 2000, probably 99. But these guys got famous around like 04, 05 or so and got really, really big. And I remember like my fucking emo metal friends were all of a sudden talking about Fintroll, and I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Fucking Fintroll? And yeah, it turns out the folky stuff and the what I call pizza metal kind of shit was really taking off, and I was like, fuck that, I don't want to fucking have anything to do with it. But it's kind of funny that it brings us to the next band, Finstra Forests, which are very much along the same lines as Fintroll, but I think this is a lot more tastefully done. Doesn't have quite as much as the fucking stupid squeeze box kind of stuff. This album is called Zum Todahin. I believe they're from Germany, but I don't know, this doesn't look German in language to me. Anyways, these guys are really killer. Kind of folky, pagan, Viking-ish kind of metal. The production on this record is so killer and huge sounding. The problem is there's just a million bands doing this kind of style. They're all decent. I don't see the point in there being so many goddamn bands in this style. But people just go nuts for them, especially in Europe. Big poster. I probably never even unwrapped that thing. This thing showed up in my local record store a couple years ago, and I was like, what the hell is this doing here? But yeah, this is... So, like, I probably wouldn't have sought out this band or this release had it not popped in my used bin for $7. But it's pretty good. Finstra Forests is a band that I do actually listen to every once in a while. But lastly, we're going to end on a good note, I suppose. Flagellate, channeling the Acheron. I'm a big fan of this album. I've got it on vinyl. There's the actual logo of the band. So I'm not sure the chronology of things, but when Akhenaten moved from Illinois, Judas Iscariot, to Germany, this was one of the very first projects that he started up when he moved over there. And this is a... Oh, the album's over with. Anyways, this is a lot more of like a black thrash record. But I think you can probably tell he used all the same equipment and guitars, and the vocals sound quite the same as the last few Judas Iscariot releases. It's just that he's working with a new drummer. It was probably easiest in getting familiar with a new drummer to play a style that was just kind of like 80s thrash. But it's really, really good. It's just one of those things that's indicative that he was such a tremendous songwriter that he could really do no wrong. This really stands alongside albums like Black Thrash Attack by Au Noir. Also production-wise quite a bit, style-wise as well. The vinyl version of this, why am I going here? I'm not even going to remember the band. The vinyl version of this has a cover on it. I can't even think of what band the song is by. Yeah, I'm not going to remember it. But there's some killer fucking riffs on this thing, and if you haven't heard Flagellate and you're a Judas Iscariot fan, definitely seek that out. So that's the end of the pile. We will see you again soon. Thanks for joining me. Good night.